gathering our Shakti forces. What are the ways that we can increase our Shakti power? Now, the two most important ways are we develop an ability to listen to our inner guidance and to surround ourselves with good people. But what happens when we can't hear the voices of inner guidance? We can't hear the wise teacher within, or the people around us are anything but kind. What do we do? Well, I'd like to share a little story about a very strong, brilliant woman who I'd been working with for some time. And she had a very unexpected, a completely threatening situation, a dire situation that happened with her husband. And this is, the kind of story where you have to, make a choice right in the moment of what should I do? Should I stay and try to work things out, or is time's up and it's time to go? And so these are the times when we really need to gather and strengthen our reserve, our reservoir of inner Shakti power. And so here, this is where we must learn to stand our ground, to speak up, and to have good allies, good people around us.
What happens when your Shakti's weak and you can't speak up, or you don't have people around to support you?
Well, that's a great question, Shana. So, sometimes when we do act, we take an action, like in this case, she made an action, that's when all of the fears and the doubts is like, oh my God, am I going to be alone? And, did I do the right thing? What should I do next? And so all the fears and the doubts start coming in. And so this is when our Shakti is weak. This is a time where we start craving, we have to fight, or we have to prove ourselves, or, we start to pull back. Now, spiritual warrior, a Shakti queen, somebody like Aretha Franklin, she doesn't have, prove herself. She doesn't have to prove herself. And so, like Aretha Franklin, when she walks in the room, she just commands respect. She commands the space. And so, in my view, we're not all born with this power, with this inner reservoir of Shakti power. And so we need to develop it. We need to train ourselves. And so in this story, this woman, she was able to create alliances. I worked with her for a number of years, and it wasn't just my coaching, it was also the other things that she, had been doing. She was able to stand her ground. She was able to speak up, and she did, in fact, choose to leave, and she had great places, great options, great people around her. And so this is when times of trouble hit. The mistake that a lot of us make as women is this is when we pull back our power, we withdraw from people, and we have to really pull in our forces. Now, of course, sometimes it is important to wait. This time where we're asking, well, should I wait? Should I act? What should I do? I'm talking here about a situation where you don't have time to brood or think or calculate. This is a time when you have to act now. And so the secret of a Shakti queen is, what do we do while we are waiting? We make the choice to wait. What should we do? Now, an empowered woman, she realizes that the true enemies, the real enemies, are the enemies within, the fear, the doubt, the insecurities that happen. Now, an intelligent woman, she surrounds herself with very good people, with a community that will support her, and she will find the people who will stand up for her and will give her good reflections, okay? And this is the kind of advice and the kind of support that we offer in our program, A Woman's Way to Lead. Now, of course, we all want to be surrounded by good people, but the truth is that most of us have a mixed bag. We have some people that really support us, some people that empower us, some people that we feel great around, and then we have others who bring us down, who who make us feel weak or insecure, make us doubt ourselves, okay? Now, of course, the trick is to avoid as much as possible the people that in their presence you feel less than, okay? The people that put you down, and to gather more and more a circle of women and a circle of men, the type of people that are going to be there for you when you're having trouble or when you get low. Okay, so you really want to focus on this community of strong people around you.
So I want to go back to when to wait and when to act. I mean, how do you know when to wait and when to act?
Great question. Okay, so for me, what I do is, if I ask myself, I've chosen, there's a situation that comes up, and I'm not sure, should I wait or should I move? If I ask myself the question, why wait? And I can't come up with a good answer, then you know it's time to take decisive action. Now, of course, there are times when it is best to wait, okay? And so what happens if you have a habit of perpetually or chronically waiting and missing opportunities, then you have to wait. You always have to wait, or you have the pattern of have to act. It's compulsive. I have to act right away. So what you need to do if you're on either those sides, waiting too long or acting too quickly, is you need to go inside and really, really reflect inside. You need to let go of any resistances that you have to see what the real obstacles are. And the most important thing in any situation is to ask yourself, what is the right thing to do now? What is the right thing to do now?
Well, how does a woman create a good life and to make sure she has good people who support her?
Well, here I think the most important thing is that team of allies that you create. Well, in times of crisis, that's not the time to create a team of allies. It's really what we do the rest of the time. And so the acts of kindness, the seeds that we plant to have good relationships, those things are done when we're not in crisis. So we are always cultivating good alliances. And so an intelligent woman, she realizes that it takes a tribe to thrive. It takes a community, it takes a tribe to really thrive. Now, Jesus Christ at the Last Supper, he had 12 good people. Well, most of them were good, 12 people around that were there for him when he really needed them. And so I think this is a great idea, a good kind of a goal is like, let me gather a circle of 12 women, or 12 people, 12 men around me that will be there to celebrate my victories, to be there to support me, help me decide things to do, and also be there in times of defeat, or times when they're going to shake their gourd, they're going to shake and wake me up when I'm going to sleep to things. That's what having a team of good allies does for you in your life.
Well, what do you suppose is the most important thing a woman can do to strengthen her inner Shakti power?
So, besides really cultivating, the most important thing, cultivating that dialogue and that connection to your inner guidance and surrounding yourself with good people, my view is the most important thing is to create a good daily routine, to have good, strong daily habits. Now, I want to tell another story. This story is about a very successful woman, and she had quite a swanky job. It was a kind of job where, she was making a lot of money, and in order to keep her place on the ladder of success, she played pool after work, they went out drinking, and she got, able to outdrink the guys and so forth. And so when she started to reach and could see 50 coming on the horizon, things began to shift for her. She started to be disillusioned. The whole zaniness of the corporate world, it started to really wear on her. and she wanted to have a more spiritual connection in her life, and that's when we reconnected. And so she left corporate, and she was smart. She saved up a lot of money, and she took a year off, and she really started studying and finding out these spiritual practices, these feminine practices, and she never really looked back on her corporate, except about a year later, her money started to run thin, and she was trying to get jobs. Nothing was working. She's trying to date men, and nothing was working. And she started to panic. And so these are the times, trust me, when our daily practices, meaning what we do on a daily basis, that's when these practices can literally save our life. And again, that's one of the things we focus on in bringing into our program, A Woman's Way to Lead, and our Shakti programs, is what kind of things can we do to reconnect with spirit in our daily lives. So when her career started to collapse, and she was, very close to hitting bottom. The bank was starting to foreclose, and she was really facing defeat significantly. It wasn't the time to suggest, go and meditate for hours and hours or do some lengthy practice. This is when we need quick, accessible practices that work, that calm our mind, calm our nervous system, and reconnect us with spirit.
So what do you do in times of crisis when you don't have the time to think?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. The purpose of any really good practice is to calm your nerves and to slow down that inner battle with those inner enemies from within. Your mind is just going crazy. In this case, this woman was facing these tremendous doubts. Even though she had all these abilities and skills, she thought, well, nobody wants me. I don't have my chops. There's younger people in the field. I'm not as attractive as I was. And all of these voices inside that were just putting her down. And so her mind, in these cases, mind is trying to convince us that these things are correct when they're not. So here, the best weapon is to have a practice that brings your mind home. So don't be fooled by the simplicity of the practice that I want to share with you, because the best practices are actually quite simple. And most importantly, in the time of when you really need them, a time of crisis, you can just grasp them very, very quickly. Now, the truth is that we're most familiar with our bad habits. In other words, that inner voice that puts ourselves down or that cuts ourselves, and doesn't cut ourselves any, the voices inside that says we don't have it, we're not going to make it, and so that is a bad habit. And the trick here is that you want to implant and place good habits, empowering habits in there. And you want to do them often enough so that when you really need them, you don't just revert automatically to your bad habit. You train yourselves to pull in an empowering voice, listening to that voice of inner guidance, which, by the way, that voice of inner guidance is always, always rooting for you. That says, yes, you got it. Just acts on your courage and say, choose what is the right thing to do, and you choose that right thing to do in the moment. So these are the practices. Here's what I told her to do. Okay, so she was at this point, nothing was working, and she was going to have to go back home after years and years of really high success. And she calls me up, and she was in tears, and she's like, I don't want to just go back home to my mom. I mean, everyone's just going to say that I'm a failure and nothing worked out. And I said, listen, darling. I said, the only thing that's really collapsing here is your ego, And here's the practice I gave to her. And so here's what I said to her. I said, she still had one of those smartwatches from her glory days. And I said, I want you to create an alarm 3 times a day, and just randomly. And when that alarm goes off, here's what I want you to do. Keep your eyes open, okay? Stop talking, and then open your mouth with a a slight opening as if you were going to make the sound ah. But if you're in public, don't even make the sound. Just open your mouth, put your hands by your side, and then take a few steps. And that's it. That's the whole practice. Again, so, in the middle of anything, when that alarm goes off, stop talking, okay? Keep your eyes open your mouth, and then just take your hands by your side and then just take a few steps. And that's the whole practice, okay? So what happens is she calls me up. Actually, she sent me a message. That's right. She sent me a message a week later. She says, I had my bags packed. I had my flight and everything. I listened to your advice. I made a decision. I was going to go back and face reality, face what was just really happening, and let it all go, and just let all that ego stuff go. And you won't believe it, the thing that happened when, as soon as I let everything go, I got the job of a lifetime. It's this huge job in another country. I'm taking the job, and I'm going. And so I just, wanted to thank you. And so, here today, I just want to send my blessings and blessings on the way for making your choices of what you made. And I also want to say, in times of caution, there's times of caution. It's not only when we are facing defeats or some really threatening situation that we need our Shakti reserve of power, and that we need to remember to do these practices that reconnect us with spirit. Okay? It's not only in times of defeat, it's also in times of great victory, when we're very happy and everything's working out and, we got some great thing happening. And so that's also the time when we typically forget to do our practices, okay? So here's my prayer for you, darling, that in the time of, now she's into this new position just about 2 weeks. And so I want to send my prayers that you remember to do these practices that connect you with spirit. They're very simple to do, that even in the time when everything's working out great, you just remember to connect to spirit, okay? And keep listening to your inner guidance, and keep surrounding yourself in this new field of people. Make sure you select really good allies, and just you go for it. You create a new team of allies wherever you go. And so these are the kind of practices that we introduce in our online program, A Woman's Way to Lead. And we also create a very beautiful circle and a team of allies. And so we believe that having your connection with your inner voice, having a great team of allies, is really the key to having an abundant reserve of your Shakti power, okay? We also have a free master class you can look into, and you can find out about our programs, our year-long program, our 3-month program, and so on. You can find out about that on amaracharles.com. And so we want to